A good young man died yesterday. He was assassinated and murdered for his faith, his convictions, and his voice. Charlie Kirk paid the ultimate price while he lived for standing for his beliefs. And he died doing the same. Charlie Kirk died well yesterday. And I pray for his wife and his children and his parents that he left behind, and all those who are in pain over it, and they can stand tall and be proud of him. I want an apolitical show here with what we do. And while Charlie Kirk did dip into politics unapologetically, he was not a politician. He wanted a better America, a better place for his family to live in the exact same way that you and I do. He stood for things that counted. He stood for faith above all. He was a great defender of the family and for children and for the unborn. He stood against perversion and twisted sickness in gender dysphoria ideology. He stood for life. He did not apologize for it. He was winsome. He was kind. He was articulate, but he was not weak. He stood for life, and he stood for freedom, individual freedom, family freedom, all kinds of freedom. He stood for the freedom of education. He was a huge advocate for people homeschooling our children. That fact, all the facts, I am greatly thankful for the young man. He stood for the family's position in this world, and he was unapologetic about it. One of the last things that he focused on, that he was being articulate about, was the killing earlier in the last week or so in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we're going to talk about her as well. Her name is Irina Zarutska. Forgive me for my pronunciation. She was 23 years of age, and she was a refuge from Ukraine. Came to the United States to get away from the violence, the wickedness going on in her own place that she was born. And she was murdered on August 22nd of 2025. She was murdered by a man who had been repeatedly convicted as a violent offender at least 14 times. She is a victim of the failing of our justice system, as well as those that were around her. There were people sitting right by her who sat and did nothing. She died on the floor, calling out for her mother. The word tragedy doesn't get close to what happened with her in this situation. Failed justice system, it's a political term. It's a failure of what all the things we stand for and hold dear here in America. The man that killed her has been filmed since then. I believe it's when he was being incarcerated, and he said, and forgive me if you got small children here, flip this on pause for a moment. He exclaimed, "I got that white girl," and he repeated it, revealing his intentions and the reason why he did this. It's not a mystery. It's not a secret thing. He articulated it boldly, and he was proud of it. He was repeating it. What does all this mean to you and to I? I had to re-record this because I was ready to talk only about Irina and the tragic event of her demise here in the United States. Did you know that the Ukrainian government offered to take her remains for free, get her back to Ukraine, and bury her in the land that she was born? And her family said no. She loved America so absolutely much that she was American. She moved here for the ideology and the ideals that we have always stood for opportunity, for freedom, for a chance at life. And that is what this country has stood for. That is That is why I raised my hand and took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of this great nation, as well as those who live beneath its protection. And we have watched and been far too quiet and complicit with the things that have cascaded into making this country the nation we live in today. And let me be clear, I love this country. I love this country. I love the people in it. I proudly served this nation, and many others like me do as well. But here's what we don't love. We don't love the position that our politicians have taken, our judges and legal system have become, as well as the crushing media and social influence that is against us and our families. And I mean families like yours and mine as well. This is important. This is actually the conversation. All right. Why did I start this channel? I'll tell you why. I've talked a lot about digital things that affect our children in schools, predators targeting them. But the original reason and intent that I thought about doing this well over 2 years ago, at the inception of thought in my skull bucket here, was that I have seen the writing on the wall for the trajectory our country has taken, and I do not like it. Am I fomenting radicalism? No, I am advocating for families. I'm being an evangelist for you and for I to live the way God has always intended us to here, with the freedom to raise our children, to be a mother and father and live our faith and honor that with our lives. And it has been eroding right before us while we are standing here watching it happen, and we have been told that we are not allowed to speak, we're not allowed to judge, and we're not allowed to take a stand. While the opposition is being very encouraged to be loud and proud. And do I want obnoxious, loud, and proud people? No, absolutely not. But I do not also not want quiet, silent, and complicit people. It's not what we see in Scripture, and it's not. I don't care what your pastor told you from the pulpit. That is not true. The word meek in Scripture comes from the Greek word and the concept praeus. Praeus is an example of a war horse. A war horse is something that is highly trained and very, very capable, yet is under absolute control. That is what the term meek means. It does not mean weak and or flaccid or incapable, right? Not at all. It means somebody who is very capable, but in control. But being capable means we do have a responsibility to stand up and do the right thing and defend those who require defending, and quit being silent and complicit. I implore you, stop being silent and complicit. Mothers and fathers of children who have faith, who are watching this, please, I'm being serious. Do not allow yourself, your friends, your relationships, your church, the media to silence you anymore. I do not want screeching, obscene, and out of control people representing our side. No. But I also don't want silence, because here's what Charlie Kirk's death has done. And honestly, also Irina's. Because you know who's talking about Irina? Not too many people. Not enough. And we as a culture and a people should be outraged. This stuff happens every day, and that's the problem. It shouldn't. It absolutely should not. We must take a stand in our home and in our community. If we don't, we are doing ourselves and our family an absolute disservice, especially our faith. I implore you to stand. What about this is what you can take back? You can take control and assume responsibility for the safety of your family, the sanctity of being a parent in your home. No longer allow the powers that be, the state, the school system, to inject authority over you. That is not the example that we have in Scripture, and that is not the example that we need to have with our children, okay? I want you. I want you. Charlie Kirk was advocating for the reassuming of familial family authority. Fathers leading their homes, mothers leading their homes wisely, in engaging with not just their children, but their society, our friends, our family, where we go to church, where we go to school, where we buy groceries, where we buy chicken feed, whatever, right? Where we buy books. No longer do we need to be people who are so quiet as a mouse that we have zero impact on the people we live around. That is how these things happen. Faith and education. These things we must hold dear because we own them. They are ours and our responsibility. These are all the things that Charlie stood for. And let me be very honest. I did not agree with 100% of what Charlie stood for and said, and we don't have to with each other. But he was a godly man standing for family and godly things. Did he do everything right? No, neither do I, neither do you. So come on, get off your proverbial high horse if that's the first place your mind went to, and let's have an actual human conversation here and not be pretentious about this. He was standing for right, and he was standing for my family, for your family, and his family. As I said, he wasn't a politician, but he turned himself into a voice and a platform for many of the things that count. That is what I am advocating for you to do with me. That is why the Family Readiness Project exists. I skipped a little bit in my conversation because I'm looking at my notes, but I'm also having thoughts. Please forgive me. I redid this in about 20 minutes. The writing I saw that was on the wall is, I come from the law enforcement, from the federal side of the community, from the intelligence side as well. I've thought about these things. I've looked at these threat reports and intelligence reports for years, and I have said to myself, it is only a matter of time before awful and horrific things begin to happen here in the United States where we live, because they do happen everywhere else in the world. And we have been very, very protected and are very, very immune to the ramifications of those events happening. Am I wishing those things to happen? May it never be. I pray that we have the most boring life on the planet as far as outside threats and things that can disrupt the fabric of life here where we live. Okay? But I also am a realist, and I understand how things work. I understand how terrorism and organized crime, organized governmental systems, ideology being injected, all these things absolutely affect nations, and much of this can be seen and foretold if you know what to pay attention to, okay? So why I started the Family Readiness Project is because I don't see that we have a government necessarily that has the best capability of protecting you and yours, especially families of faith. They have conceded that long ago, and it is up to us to stand up, dust ourselves off, draw a line in the sand and say, no, not on my watch, not for my family, not for my home, not for my children and potential grandchildren and so on. Our faith and our education, we must hold dear, back to my list, because those are the things that give us an understanding of what true freedom looks like and protects us from the fear that is being pushed down our throats every single day. Let me be clear. Charlie Kirk's assassination and attack on him and his person and his voice is an attack on you and I. It is an attack on our family. That's why it's so important that he was not a politician. Was he politically used and charged? Sure, he was. But the fundamental baseline of the things he stood for are things that we live, that we hold precious, that we hold dear. And we need to take pause at this. Another thing that has happened, I'm not talking about the crazy videos that are around all the time. And please let me encourage you. If you're stuck on your phone, and I was for a few hours on this, I'll admit, self-admittance here. If you're stuck on your phone watching all the pablum and insanity that comes across your screen, because yes, your friends know you, but so does the algorithm, and the algorithm is pushing the stuff that they know is going to push your buttons. Stop. Turn it off. Just turn it off. After you watch my video, turn it off. Take a breath, please. Because I'm your advocate. I want you to do well, and I don't want you to be manipulated and controlled by what's coming across your screen. And may I never turn into that, okay? Other than wanting to wake you up and encourage you to, yeah, you can speak. You can do something, because not only are crazy people out there on the interwebs doing dances and being joy-filled about the death of this man, the death of a father and a husband, what's shocked my wife and I, and we're not easy to shock, is the number of people that we actually know. Real humans that we have known for years and have interacted with are jumping on this bandwagon of joy about his death, of politicizing and jumping on this ideological, train that left the station a long time ago and are just talking stupid talking points. And they've lost the humanity of what happened. I'm here to tell you, am I very conservative? Yes, I am. If somebody that I completely and fundamentally disagreed with got murdered on TV from a political ideology opposite of mine, would I jump for joy? No, I would not, because that's sick. That's absolutely evil, and it's wrong. Why? Because we are people of moral character, and we lean on God and the understanding of what Scripture shows us to determine how we should act in this world. The other side does not do that, nor do they have the fear of the Father in them. We do. Let's be better, but let's also not be silent and complicit, because I want you to take a stand. Yes, you need to talk to your children about this, young and old. We are absolutely, because I feel that Charlie Kirk's death is a bit of a hinge point in our history. Do I want things to radically be wild and crazy? Again, no. Do I want violence to erupt? No. But I can see it happening. I can see people who have been easily manipulated, and yes, this event can be used to manipulate people, and it already is, and I hate it with everything that I am, and that's why I'm talking to you families and not being political with this. I want your family to live a good life, not in fear, to live well, to live your faith, your values, and the life that you want to with freedom here in the United States of America. Okay? That's what I want. I'm pretty sure many of you want the same. And if you do not, we just are going to have to disagree. And we can do that because, again, America. I want you to engage the people you know, because I am. I'm not going to be silent anymore. It is no longer okay for people who are radicalized, and that is what it is. They have been radicalized, and they are allowed the freedom to speak openly about it and say anything they want, no matter how damaging or evil it is. And it is not okay. And yes, do I want to get in their grill? Do I want to punch them in the throat? Might want to, but I'm not going to, okay? Because that's wrong. No, but we need to tell them, no, this is not okay. We don't believe that way. And it's not okay that you're publicly putting this out there, especially when a man lost his life over it. That's evil and wrong, and you will be held to account, because you cannot treat me this way anymore, or my family. Okay, this is very personal, because these things represent our ideology and how we believe and how we live our life. Am I clear? Take a stand, take a breath. Don't get angry, though a little bit of anger can be healthy in fueling the fire, but may it be controlled. May you be praised in your emotions and your actions. May you be absolutely capable, yet under control. Do not be like the fool that you are answering, to put it in biblical terms. Let us not be in fear. Do not allow our culture, our society, a politician to shame and fear us into being complacent. No, we cannot be complacent anymore because, I mean what I said, the attack against Charlie, it's more than proverbial. I think it's an actual attack against us. I think they want us to be silent. And here's the thing. This is America. This place was built on the backs of those who paid a price for our freedom. That freedom does come with a cost, and they counted the cost. So in everything we do, when you ask a warrior or somebody who has something very difficult to do, one of the first things they ask is, what's it going to cost? Because there is always a cost. I am willing to stand up and have people's perception of me be different than what they possibly thought. I am willing to take a stand for my family and draw a line, a hard line, not proverbial either, an actual line in the sand and say, no, no more. You're not going to threaten my family. You're not going to threaten me or my people. It's not okay, and I will stand for these things, and I will defend them. Period. End of story. I want you to engage. I want you to engage well and thoughtfully and winsomely. I want you to teach your children how to do the same. I want you to be aware when you're in public, because I absolutely know that radicalized elements of our culture on both sides of the fence are being stirred up to foment catastrophe. Whether or not it will happen is yet to be seen, but I know those things are at play. Why? Because that is what happens during events like this. That is actually, in my opinion, the reason for the events. I think it's the reason for Charlie's having to die. And I hate that. I hate it for him and his family. I hate it worse than anything in the world. But that's the reason why. And I can see these things coming. Thus, I want you to be ready. Family Readiness Project. I want you to be ready mentally. I want you to be ready in your faith and in your heart. And I want you to be ready with your hands in what we do. I want you to be able to teach your children and your spouse and your dear friends whom you trust and the rest of your family. I want you to have your eyes open. I want you to practice awareness. I want you to communicate well. I want you to put up barriers and protections of defense and safety around your family and your community. And I want you to be able to react properly. I want you to have medical preparation. I want you to be able to have physical preparation to defend yourself, because that is right and proper for us all. We have the right to defend ourselves, and we must. Because there are people out there who fundamentally hate who we are, whether they like us and know us or not. Make ready and do not be manipulated. And at the end of the day, don't be weak. Do not be a weak people. This culture is evidence of weakness. Weak men win when good men stand aside and do nothing. I'm not going to stand aside and be silent and do nothing. You know what? Neither are most of you. And I'll close with this. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. Rest in peace, Irina. Charlie Kirk lived from 1993 to 2025. Prayers to your family, to your wife and your children, your mother and father, and all that were close to you and you left behind, in Godspeed. Godspeed to both of you. You're with the Father. You're home. You're where our hope resides. So let's take that seriously. And now, this is the Family Readiness Project. Please join me. If you disagree with me, or if you agree with me, I need to hear from you. Support at familyreadinessproject.com is the email address. If you see me somewhere where you can leave a comment, leave me a comment. I read them all. Yes, I will respond. And come to familyreadinessproject.com. Sign up for our email list. I will be doing oh so much more. This is a linchpin crux moment for us as a culture, I think. Do I want it to be? No, but here, this is what we've been handed. So this is what we're here for. I'm here to make you ready. I'm here to encourage you. I'm here to bolster your faith. Get on your knees, pray. Pray with your husband, your wife, and your kids. And then stand them up and begin engaging with them. Teach them these things. Tell them about the people in the world who hate them, but tell them to not live in fear, that we have a God who loves us and paid the price for us for eternity. Be ready, teach readiness, teach awareness, teach engagement, teach winsomeness, teach wisdom, teach, train, show, and do. I love you all, and I pray for you all. I pray for your families, and I pray for your communities. I pray for our nation. I'll see you next time. Thank you.